I'm literally having an internal panic attack because I'm brand new at this. It's me and a moving company I had hired to take some stuff out of I think at the time it was like a 5,000 square foot warehouse and bring it over to this other warehouse I was in. I am freaking the heck out. There's guys that are really good that want long-term relationships, and there's guys that are just wanting to take advantage of you. We have got really good relationships with multi-million-dollar corporations that they only sell new equipment. We do things differently. We do marketing differently. We try to actually be helpful to people and not sell is always to fit the need first. And then if we're making money as a result, that's a huge bonus. It's not sales. It's building a relationship, a long-term. It's called business development. That's when the light bulb went off. Yeah. And I was like, oh, well, if I can just build a relationship with somebody and as a result sell, like, hey, I can do that. Justice Marini has no
friends. I want to start a gym.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't until I saw your reels that are great. I was like, you were sharing stuff that I was like, this is really cool. I didn't know all this stuff. And then I go to your website, I see all this stuff. Because I have this vision of having like a gym, an all guys gym, just like great equipment. I'm sure you hear a lot of guys say this. They reach out to you and they're like, so all this. And I went through COVID where like the gym equipment was like $1 billion. But I was like, I go to this, this LA Fitness here. And it's just kind of like, I don't know. It's just, there's a lot of distractions. I don't know if you like the gym world is just, it's kind of like I don't know how to say it. It's kind of like a fashion show now more than it is like, let's get a real, I get jealous when I look at like Gold's Gyms, like old stuff where it was like just these dudes, it had to smell terrible in there. They're like, they're just going nuts. They're just going crazy. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So that's my vision is for one day for me to have one of those places. Right. Yeah. And so when I saw your reel and your reels are fun, Freedom Fitness Equipment on Instagram. It's at Freedom Fitness Equipment 1 on Instagram. Yes. My biggest question was like, one, how did you get into this? And whatever you feel comfortable sharing from the business side, please share. But like, one, when did you start? How did you get into it? Is it like I started on Craigslist and then just scaled? But your stuff is dialed. Like I went to your website, I do some marketing stuff, but I went to your website. I saw all your stuff. I was like, it's dialed. You got the Facebook bot on the website. You got all this stuff. I was like, this isn't just like some side hustle. At least it doesn't look like it. If it is a side hustle for you, you're doing great. But I was like, how did you start this? Like, because it looks like it's growing. Like your warehouse, it looks like things have grown. So can you kind of share like how you got started and kind of where you guys are at right now?
I literally started this business in my backyard. It was during COVID. Right as COVID was getting started in March of 2020. And I thought, I bought my first squat rack. It was a lime green Titan T3 or Titan T2. It was one of those 2x3 racks. Yeah. And it was great. But for me, it felt kind of flimsy. I think I had to bolt it down. So I was creating a platform at the time. And I was like, maybe I can upgrade this. Well, I had bought it for a really good price and I ended up flipping it for double my money.
Really?
Oh, yeah. So at that point, I was like, okay, maybe there's something here. I dabbled with a couple other things. I was like, okay, wow, gym equipment is really taken off. I ended up getting a Titan X3 rack. And after that, I started looking at Facebook Marketplace and Craigslist for bulk lots of items, not individual ones, but like big lots of equipment. And I started purchasing and reselling. I would also do like other stuff. Like I would go and find sales on company websites and try to buy up a big lot of equipment and then sell it at just whatever the regular price was. That went from our sunroom to we built a on-site 350 square foot shed just to house all the equipment because it was getting out of hand.
Oh, no kidding. You guys poured it and everything. Like you guys did it.
Oh, yeah. I hired a contractor, but yeah, he was on site. And then we got a carport, like a temporary carport situation, which I have a story about that. And then we got a pod. And at that point, my wife was like, okay, y'all, you need to get this out of here and get a warehouse. And the carport at one point did a cartwheel into our neighbor's lawn because I didn't have it strapped down properly, which was hilarious. It was super sketchy because I'd be advertising on Craigslist and Facebook, and I'd be having people just kind of walk through the yard and buying stuff, and not a great safety thing for the family. So At the time I was working in finance. I was working with I was a tech guy, and then I was on the product management side by that time. Uh,
Really?
oh yeah, yeah. It was awful. It was just not. It's not where I needed to be. I
You were
was
in the 9 to 5 grind,
yeah,
just
yeah,
like
yeah,
I've got a skill, I'm using it, I'm secure, but I hate it.
exactly. And the company I was with treated their people well, paid really well, and
Yeah.
frankly, I'm grateful for that. But it was 8 years that I honestly wish I could go back in time, reverse, and do what I'm doing now.
Really?
Yeah, big time.
Like, what does your wife think? You got the secure job. I'm sure
Oh
8 years
yeah,
in, like, you figured out how to do your job really efficiently. So now
yeah,
you're doing this thing on the side.
yep.
Was it like, this is just for fun? I think it's interesting. We'll see what happens. Or were you like, hey, like, I think we could really when did you know you could make something out of it?
Yeah, so a couple of months in, I had been
Wow.
looking desperately for a side hustle that I could kind of grow into my own business. My grandfather was very entrepreneurial. I kind of had those genes. I always wanted to find something where I could work for myself. And my wife knew that I was miserable in my job. My wife, I give most of the credit for this business to my wife because she,
Nice.
I'm very conservative from a risk standpoint. My wife pushed hard. She was like, "You need to quit. You need to start this thing and just go." I was like,
Really?
"Pump the brakes." So, so, so we ran the business on the side for 6 months because I wanted to do a test run.
Mm,
I wanted to do more research on other successful businesses in the area that might have done well no matter what the market was. And turns out there were multiple that have been in business for like 10, 15 years during other recessions, during other crazy cycles, and crushed it. Crushed it.
really?
Oh yeah. So because if you're in the used market, you do well in a down cycle or an up cycle because it's a huge value add to the business, to anybody's business. Because like you don't have to pay $10,000 for a
Yeah.
treadmill.
Yeah.
Yeah, I give most of that credit. Also, she came up with the name, which was awesome. And she knew I was miserable. So trying to get out of finance was like trying to get out of golden handcuffs, as you can
Yes.
imagine, because
Yes.
they pay so well. So I was like, we need to make enough money to be able to support the family. I'm not going to go and just jump off a cliff. Yeah, we did it. 6 months in, the company actually offered us a package to leave the company. At that time, they offered it to 75% of the employee population, and a lot of people took it. So I just
Timing
said, "See ya."
for 6 months is fast.
Yes, yeah. So just for context, so COVID was nuts for a lot of companies in a good way.
Yeah.
We made more. I was making money. And this is not a brag. We were just making money hand over fist. It didn't make sense not to switch.
Yeah.
Um, Even for me, I essentially got pretty darn close to my current salary just in revenue from what I was doing in the backyard. And getting a warehouse at the time, it wasn't super crazy because nobody was anywhere in person.
Yeah.
So, and I kept my expenses and overhead low. It was just me grinding it out for a while. So it wasn't a huge jump. And plus we had all that capital from the
Payout.
offer that I'd been made to leave. But it was still like I distinctly remember I'm sitting in a job,
Yeah.
and just I'm literally having an internal panic attack because I'm brand new at this. It's
Yeah.
me and a moving company I had hired to take some stuff out of I think at the time it's like a 5,000 square foot warehouse and bring it over to this other warehouse I was in. I am freaking the heck out because I don't know what I'm doing. This is way too big for me. Blah 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 blah. And I'm sitting there trying to unscrew a squat rack, and I had to call my wife because I'm like, I'm never gonna make it. Which is crazy because like I had found these deals and done really well up to this point. Yeah, it was a huge grind, but we were doing good. And yeah, it was a moment of internal freak out. And I've had a couple since then about, just different things, but you get more confident as you go along. But yeah, I distinctly remember that happening. It was probably a month or two into the business. I was just like, it's all gonna end tomorrow, and it wasn't. It was fine. But yeah, that's how I got started. It was a very quick transition compared to most, but I had started just to give you backstory even further down. I had started like 3 or 4 other side businesses before. They all
Really?
crashed and burned. Yeah, I tried to create, dice sets for D&D, if you're familiar with D&D. I tried to do flipping on electronics, like old school electronics, vintage electronics, VHS, old radios, that kind
Yeah.
of different stuff like that. And none of that ever panned out. It was just way too much.
I'm so glad you shared that, because so many times people hear about people's like, they hear their highlight, their like success story, and they're
Oh
like,
yeah.
oh, sounds simple. And then they go out and they're like, this doesn't work. And it's like, no, you just haven't like failed enough times. Like, like it's just like, you just keep going, which is like, speaks to like your grandfather. It's like, it's the entrepreneurial, like you just like are trying to figure it out. It can work. It's like, that there's an opportunity there. And so you're just like, what is it? And I love hearing about your wife just being like, dude, you need to come on, dude. Like, let's get after this. This like awesome.
For anybody listening who's thinking about taking the jump off of that cliff and is really not sure where you should be, my advice, so COVID was an anomaly. It was a great time for people to jump ship, because if you were in the right niche, you were killing it. In a normal economy, I would have said that particular business probably would have taken me about a year and a half, like 3 times as long to take off, because it was just, we hit it at the right time. We treated our customers really well and we had recurring business. Normally, it would have taken so much longer for that to come to a head. So take that story with a little bit of a grain of salt, because COVID sparked a lot of entrepreneurial endeavors, but that is not necessarily the norm. I'm not saying for people not to try it, but
no, it's good.
I would have run that in parallel on a normal basis. I probably still would have done this, but I would have run it in parallel with my full-time job for about 3 times as long.
Yeah. For those like people that are listening to this that weren't into like working out during COVID, it was like the gyms shut down. Like they just shut down. You weren't sure when they were going to open back up. No one knew. But if you're a regular at a gym, you're like, I got to figure this out.
Yeah.
And so gym equipment was scarce. And if it was available, it was expensive.
Oh, very.
It was really expensive. And so it was this, when he says it was an anomaly, like, I don't know if we've ever seen something like that, because we've never really shut down like America. Like it was just like completely shut down. And over on the West Coast, it was like super shut down. Like it was like this in like the Northeast, it was just like super shut down. So people had nothing. I think Peloton ended up doing really well. Like Echelon, like all of those places ended up running out of stuff, inventory, all kinds of stuff. They just had these spike years. So when he says it's an anomaly, it was crazy. It was just this crazy time. I'm wondering for you, like, okay, who is your customer? Like, who is because you said recurring, which I would have never thought like who's recurring on buying gym equipment.
It's hard.
Like,
so we've got in the early stages of the game, I knew nothing about anything. I didn't even, I had some business sense about me, but I don't know what I don't know. So we just had to try to grind it out on social media. So that brought a lot of clients in. But you're right. If you're in a home gym, you make a one-time buy generally, and then you just buy like little ticky-tack stuff over time. So your bumpers wear out, or your barbell you want to upgrade. Like that's really where the recurring business comes in. Sometimes you'll have owners, you'll have recommendations from other owners. That's new business. A home gym might actually convert into a training studio, or somebody might decide that they want to become a personal trainer, in which case you get recurring business from that, because now you have a studio and they had a home gym, but now they want to go bigger, or they want to create a professional space inside of their home. We had a lot of personal trainers during COVID, like crush it, like way, way, way more, because you could do the one-on-one stuff and it wasn't regulated. On the commercial side, though, when we started getting into more business accounts, that's where the recurring buys were. So we've transitioned more into recurring business with B2B sales. So I say B2B, business to business sales, where you've got a commercial gym, you can offer service, you can offer maintenance, which is recurring. And then as they have equipment wear out, Stairmasters, cardio, treadmills, strength equipment, not so much, but the cardio stuff, they'll have to be replaced, whether it's new or used, and also maintained. And you can always honestly recommend replacements for those pieces of equipment, stuff that's more reliable over time. With a home gym, you might occasionally have a treadmill go out or a piece of equipment go out, but you'll have like a one-time service call for them, and then they're good to go. They may only flip their, say, cardio equipment once in a blue moon. It's not like their squat rack is going to break down and rust out. Okay,
so and I noticed that on your website as well, where I was like, man, I just do not understand this game. Where it was like, I was like, how is he also fixing people's equipment? And I mean, obviously you probably have a team or something, but I was like, he offers the whole gambit. I'm guessing like it's almost like, when I want to get my car towed It's not like they call a bunch of people in the area to go, hey, this person is it actually you going out and doing maintenance on
Not
machines?
anymore. We didn't actually have that capability for the longest time. We recently hired a service and training technician, and also got them trained up. So there's other service techs in the area that aren't necessarily our competition. That's all they do is service.
Right.
And some of them offer training, some of them don't. Some of them think you're competition and they stay away. Well, we've been really fortunate to. So the way I run our business, I think there's plenty of business for everybody.
Yeah.
Especially in Charlotte, that's just blowing up. And in
Is it
South
really?
Carolina. Oh yeah. Yeah. Like Charlotte and Fort Mill are taken off.
I did not know this.
Yeah, it's crazy. So that market there's plenty of business for even like multiple major companies.
Yeah.
And the service side is really, it's funny. If you put out a job search for a maintenance repair tech, good luck. You'll never find anybody who's specifically in the fitness space. It is unbelievable, like the lack of like trained skill. You basically got to find a handyman and then just train them into a service tech role.
I could totally see that.
Yeah.
Because there's like, where are you going to find a guy that just is like, yeah, gym equipment. I've been doing it since I was a boy. Yeah. I know everything.
And most of the guys that already have their own business and they're not going to work for you anyway, which was super frustrating. So we had to train somebody to get that done. Honestly, though, most of the service stuff, if you're even somewhat handy, it's really not terribly difficult. And if it is, you can always call. So Precor, Life Fitness, Matrix, they all have their own technical service departments. Give them a call. They can diagnose it with you on the phone. Any consumer that's listening to this can do that. So if you've got a problem with your treadmill, you just call the manufacturer and they can usually walk through and diagnose something with you on the phone. There's more complicated stuff. You know, a technician over time is going to get used to certain sounds and weird things and automatically know what it is. But for the most part, these manufacturers have those hotlines essentially for a reason. So yeah, we weren't doing that initially. Then I realized we need to have a fuller, I'll call it suite of services, and started to do that. You mentioned though our client base. I wanted to talk about something which is near and dear to my heart. So I have a sister and a father and a dad now who is currently going through cancer treatment. My dad was in remission for 10 years. He had non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. Yep. And it's reoccurred and we're not sure how that's going to end up. My sister was diagnosed and we thought it was stage 4. We thought she was done.
Oh, wow.
They went into surgery and they found out it was a non-invasive cancer such that you could just pull tumors off of the organs and it was fine. It was it was literally a miracle because the doctors were 99.99% sure she was dead or going to be severely hampered in terms of lifestyle post surgery. Like she was either going to die on the operating table or like live the rest of her life in agony. Really, it was awful. So I have a really unfortunate relationship with cancer in our family. Yeah. And a lot of the folks that were coming into our shop, even for home gyms, were police, military, and fire departments. Fire departments in particular were awesome to deal with. Like those guys were amazing. And they had the number one killer. It just flipped. It used to be cardiac arrest. Now it's cancer because they're living for firefighters. So it's now they're living in a carcinogenic environment. Like they're dealing with fires. They've got all the exhaust fumes from all those trucks inside the firehouse at all times. It's killing them literally right and left.
Oh my word.
So I made that association early on and I was like, if we can help them even in some small way, improve their lifestyle. And I can't affect the diet and the diet's and nutrition part, but I can affect the exercise part. And I started saying, like, we're trying to go after cancer, injury, and cardiac arrest. And those guys heard that, and that hit home so hard because if cardiac arrest or cancer are number one or number two killers, and you can offer something, even if it's just like put a bike in the station and let the guys ride on it 5 or 10 minutes a day, you can change the mentality of a station. You can also literally save people's lives as they're saving other people's lives in the community.
Yeah, no kidding.
So we have a first responder program now that is literally dedicated to just extending the life of a firefighter, a police officer, somebody in the line of duty that's helping our community. And it's just gone gangbusters. Like we've outfitted so many fire stations. We're working on police stations in multiple states. Like oh man, I had a video blow up on Instagram where I was talking about people need to help these guys out, like give them donations, good equipment, not crap, residential stuff.
Yeah.
I had calls from people in Washington State that were like, yeah, we need equipment. So the goal of the program, I initially created it to be somewhat patriotic. And I think when people see Freedom Fitness equipment, they start associating us with first responders anyway, military and that kind of thing. But it really hit home. And once I tell people about like, yeah, I got in my family, that's the whole reason I'm doing this. I'm trying to get the word out more about that program because we just do things differently. You'll have absolutely garbage salespeople who they'll go in, they'll be like, yeah, we're going to sell you this base package of stuff that's making us a killing. It's our in-house brand, and we're going to sell you a rack, a bar, bench, plates, and it's making you 150% commission. And I'm like, we're doing the exact opposite. What's your budget? We're going to squeeze as much as humanly possible into that thing because the goal is not to sell you on something. The goal is to actually help the guys at the department.
Huge.
So many sales guys are just like, we're going to throw a bunch of crap at you that's prepackaged and hope it sticks and then see ya. That's the end of the relationship.
How long into this did you realize that there was like this whole industry that operated kind of this way? Was it pretty immediate, or like how long till you were like, wait, what?
Well, I figured out fitness is like, it's very good or bad. I had a guy, take me for $20,000 very early on. I almost had a lawsuit over that. So I figured out pretty early that there's a very scummy, sleazy side to it. That warehouse I was talking about that we were taking all the equipment out of, that I had a moving company hired for.
Yeah.
He took my money, and then we were supposed to come back and take the rest of the equipment. He just ran off.
Ooh.
Just straight up ran off. And it was there was half the equipment was still left in this 5,000 square foot warehouse. And I didn't know what to do. So we went back and forth for 6 months and I had to drop it. But I could have made a lot more money on that. I probably ended up breaking even on that job, which was supposed to be the catalyst for like starting the rest of the business. Yeah, that's not uncommon. I mean, suppliers, manufacturers, sometimes shipping companies. I mean, everybody's trying to take a piece of the business. You'll find that out as an owner, entrepreneur. And you just got to be super careful. There's guys that are really good that want long-term relationships, and there's guys that are just wanting to take advantage of you. And thankfully, they're few and far between. But when you find them, they're super scummy, super scummy.
So one of the things I was wondering, and I love this, by the way.
Yeah.
So one of the things I was wondering is like, as I was going through some of your stuff, I was like, is he still scouring like Facebook and Craigslist, or is he playing a totally different game now? Like,
we are. We're different. Yeah. So initially, yes. I mean, up until actually probably late last year, I had to.
Yeah.
We were. And most resellers will tell you they're always looking, and I'm always looking, but we've kind of moved away from that, thankfully. So we have got really good relationships with multi-million-dollar corporations that they only sell, new equipment. And since we're on the used side, we don't pose much of a threat. We do sell some new equipment, but because we've got a fairly distributed model where we can offer both. They don't see us as a threat, and we don't either. Yeah. So because they're in completely different states, we'll work with them and we'll do their installs. And then we'll also take the old equipment back to our warehouse. So essentially it's a trade-in process. They win because we give them a credit. We win because we get the equipment, and the customer wins because they're getting more money.
Yeah.
So that's how that works now. So we get a lot of trade-ins or off-lease equipment, and that's worked out in everybody's favor because our service team and our install team is like, we're world class. I just say it. I mean, I have heard so many horror stories of just right down the road installations going south because the technicians will go in, and this is very common. They will break everything because they're just going to town with a screwdriver. Oh yeah. Cardio, treadmills, ellipticals. It doesn't matter. Strength equipment. This is not a joke. They put together a multi-station, like a multi-system, like a Nautilus piece with pliers, not socket wrenches, pliers. So you've got to, if you're thinking about this, if your audience is listening, so the you've got a screw with a nut on it. And if you take a pair of pliers and that screw has a little nylon thread, you can only get it on like part of the way. And
Right.
they've just left it loose because why not? Because screw you.
Dude, what an opportunity for you. If like there's that kind of stuff out there, they're not gonna last. Like it's
No.
kind of like that's so are you okay? So what is your like grand vision now? Like I
Yeah.
feel like so often in like business and wherever, it's like I'm just trying to get the sales engine going. Like they're just trying to
Yeah.
figure out how to get the sales engine going. You got that early, and then it's
Yeah.
like the next stage is usually like operations, getting everything like lined up. Where then yours, you leaped into the next stage. Sounds pretty quick, which probably
Yeah.
ties to like the advantage I feel like you have is you're naturally entrepreneurial. And I bet that financial analyst brain kind of is able to look at the numbers and see an opportunity. But then now you made a big jump that I bet a lot of resellers never make, which is into the corporate, like, like used fitness equipment, working with the bigger people. And so now when you look at your company, what is kind of like your grander vision? Like, I really see this as being this, like like what is that for you?
So for us, we always want to maintain. So there's a couple of different things. So we want to be the best service provider of anybody in the entire United States. So if you think fitness equipment service and maintenance, you think of Freedom Fitness Equipment. We also want to be a national brand. We already are a national brand. We ship everywhere in the US,
Yeah, I
but
saw that.
we want to be top of mind for first responders because that's our main program, and military. And we also want to just be in top of mind. If you're, whether it's new equipment or used equipment, like we want to be top of mind. There's a company out in California, actually a couple of them, Global Fitness and the Fitness Superstore. They do very similar work to us. They sell new and used equipment, but it's only stock photos. You don't know actually what you're getting. And we want to be that brand all over, like
Awesome.
not just like with warehouse, like whether it's franchised or whether it's one hub that we're just distributing out of, like that's the goal. And to be able to serve all of our clients in a very, very effectively all the way across. So that may end up being, we'll have a hub East Coast, Mid, and West eventually. I don't know how that's going to work, but always maintaining a very, very, very high level of service and customer service. Because what I've found in this business is it's real easy to let those slip, especially as the company gets bigger. And the ones that are doing poorly, or I hear consistently negative reviews on, don't get back to people. Don't pick up the phone. We've gotten business just because I answered. Like
Really?
that's not hard to do, So if you just answer the phone,
I love it.
that's a win, which is crazy. Like, how is answering the phone winning business? Like that's not even sales. That's just like basic customer service. So, but a lot of these companies don't think that way. So we do things differently. We do marketing differently. We try to actually be helpful to people and not sell. And that's really resonated with people, obviously like yourself, but
Yeah,
we've also we've also tried to actually genuinely help people. So the goal of any of our programs, whether it's a first responder program or helping corporate clients, is always to fit the need first. And then if we're making money as a result, that's a huge bonus, but always fitting the need. And I'll tell you, if we're limited in how we can help you, like if we're trying to outfit a training studio and we may have 90% of what you're looking for, and the other 10%, I'll just say, hey, go to this, or this location.
Yeah.
But I'm never, we're trying to be as honest as we possibly can about helping those people. That's keeping that paramount. And a lot of companies are just losing that with their clients. They're trying to sell their little product, and that's about it.
The margins are just crazy when you have your own. They're probably just even if ours is less quality, isn't as good, just sell them ours. Like we've got these crazy margins on it. Just get our stuff in there. Are you eventually wanting to sell your own equipment? Like, are you I'm sure you're seeing how they're made. And one of your reels that I just loved, you were like, buy this, don't buy this.
Yes.
Here's what, like you were just breaking down like bad brands, which I was like, oh man, this is super awesome. Are you seeing an opportunity to manufacture your own gym equipment?
For sure. And I'll actually, so I did that to my own detriment. I had a Nordic Track incline trainer in our warehouse, which we were selling. I was like, don't buy this. And I'm like, and so we didn't sell it for 6 months. I was like, dang it. No, we want to, so we're going to start with our flooring. So the brand name that I've already decided on is called Hammerclad. And it's going to be, Yeah, starting out, it's going to be easier because it's going to be American made products. We'll probably eventually have to import some stuff, but
Sure.
starting out, it's going to be American products. So it's going to be American made flooring. We'll hopefully eventually get into bumper plates, but that's where it's
Yes.
going to start. And the stuff we have is honestly second to none. But yes, that, and it allows us to get, yes, it allows us to get better margins, but it honestly, it really helps us if we can get a comparable product to some mainline brand and just
Yes.
say, hey, this is the exact same quality. It's just going to get, you're going to get a way better value going with this. I want to believe in it and
Yes.
not just sell it. Then I'm going to go with that. But I've seen a lot of, I'm sure you've seen this. There's a lot of like knockoff products online
Yeah.
that commercial grade, they're not commercial grade. You start looking at the spec sheets, and for anybody that's looking at Amazon and comparing that to anything that's in the commercial space, be very, very wary early on. So we sold benches that were rated to like 660 pounds, and the manufacturer stated 660 pounds. Turns out
Yeah.
they changed it 6 months later. I don't know if they changed the brand or what. 330 pounds.
Oh, like
And
that.
something bent. Thank God our the bench did not kill them, but like one of the rungs bent because they went over 300 pounds.
Oh
Sleazy
no.
stuff like that. So, and Amazon's full of that crap. So, but yes, brand recognition, pushing that through social media, and actually having a good end product that you would want to put in your gym and that you believe in, not something that's
Yes.
just kind of imported crap.
All right. I want to, as much as you want to share these numbers, like with
Yeah.
business wise, revenue, average yearly revenue, about kind of what you guys started at and where you guys are at now that you feel comfortable sharing.
Yeah, so I mean, I'll just put I'm going to be very general because we're still growing like crazy.
Yeah.
I don't know what we're going to end up with at the end of this year. We're so most businesses like ours are going to be doing 7 figures plus.
Yeah.
If you're a manufacturer, you're probably doing 8 figures. If you're just a small distributor and you're like a mom and pop shop, you may do 6.
Yeah.
So I'd say, I mean, in terms of expectations and somebody in this business, like 6 to 7 figures is probably about the average. If you're crushing it and doing everything right, you might get to 8, but you would have to, I mean, you would have to destroy like,
Yeah.
and you're probably gonna have to be in business for 5, 10, 15 years before that happens.
Yep.
So,
Yep. And for you right now, what do you feel like are your biggest, like, you're like, these are our constraints. And if we can alleviate these, I can see like some pretty cool growth spurts coming forward. Like, what are you looking at from the top going, these are our bottlenecks right now?
honestly, it's getting to corporate clients that are going to be recurring buyers. We already did really good work for Gardner Webb University, which is right up the road.
Okay.
They're wonderful. Like a gentleman over there who's in charge of their baseball facility. We did a 10,000 square foot space. We also did some work with the National Guard
What?
here in Morganton. Yeah. Oh yeah. But it's hard with those institutional clients because you want to get your foot in the door
Yeah.
and then you want them to be able to recommend you to other people, but you need to do good work first. So it's really getting in with those big institutional clients, getting word of mouth, and then expanding into those spaces. That's where the money is. It's all these. It's really not in the consumer space.
No,
Love the
no.
consumers, love the individual people,
Yeah,
but
no, I get it.
it's the business to business selling because you can get, individual sales for entrepreneurs who are trying to hear this, like 6+ figure deals. Like that's what you're going to be getting on average for bigger institutional clients. You want that because even if you get a few of those a year, that helps your bottom line
For sure.
tremendously. That's the goal. That's like serve those all the time, help those guys out as much as possible, create an unbelievable reputation where they can't not think of you when they're going out for a bid or when they're going out for equipment. Like you are the guy because you love the
Ashton,
relationship.
I love this for you. So the thing that I love is like, one, you're a relationship builder. Like this is, and that's key to getting these bigger clients. 2, I'm pumped for you to continue to build your own equipment. Like I am pumped. Like Hammerclad 2 is a perfect name. That to me is so sweet. I looked into building like a equipment brand, but I just was like, I'm not
It's
smart
overwhelming.
enough. It's overwhelming. And what I noticed is like the small time, like there's the manufacturers of equipment overseas. It's hard to know if they're building like the quality, and then their prices are always better. shipping because it's heavier adds up. And
Mhm.
then you look at American made, and I noticed that a lot of the smaller manufacturers, they just don't have the scale capability. Like they're not as like I don't know. You need to be doing big enough. You got to have a budget to really scale with that stuff. And so you being in the business and being able to go like seeing the weak points, seeing the opportunities, I think you're going to do extremely well. One of the
one thing sorry. So I'm going to look directly into the camera and address every American manufacturer that's listening to this right now. You guys need to wake the heck up. American manufacturers are going to get absolutely destroyed by Chinese manufacturing and Taiwan manufacturing because you guys do not answer the freaking phone.
It's true. And email, they're slow.
Oh my gosh. If your sales team was half as competent as I think they could be, American manufacturing would be blowing up right now. Whether you are a factory manufacturer, a welder, particularly the metal, what do you call them? Not the metal fab shops, the ones that are like making just raw steel. They're the worst because they're only catering to corporate clients and none of the smaller businesses. If you guys were to accept pretty much everybody that came to your door, you would absolutely crush it. But I can barely get a hold of most of the American manufacturers. Meanwhile, the Chinese guys, they'll answer every Tom, Dick, and Harry every single freaking time. So not only are your costs high, your sales team is garbage, and you won't answer calls. Stop it. Dude. If you want to get American manufacturing off the ground and you want to create more of these kinds of brands that I'm talking about, answer the freaking phone.
I've noticed, because I help coach people that are trying to grow their stuff on Amazon and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It's embarrassing, dude. I noticed that like there is a segment of America that wants to buy American made and have the budget.
Yeah.
And they are scouring, they're Googling, and they might land on your website, but it might take you 2 to 3 days to respond. You're not even excited to help this person at all. You're like, what do you want? You know, it's kind of like, sorry, but I know a lot of them, if they don't get this business, they're going to go out of business. Like they can't keep playing this, like you owe us your business. Like there isn't, and some of these bigger clients, like the manufacturers outside of the United States are getting better. Like they are getting, like the ones that want to serve at a high level, they are improving their manufacturing. They are listening and they're hungry. I couldn't agree more. Yeah. I could not agree more. I saw it because I saw an opportunity to do just there's like the Rogue Fitness, all that kind of stuff that are super high priced.
Yep.
And then Amazon's like this super low price. So I saw just for a bar, like a nice bar. I was like, middle of the road, there's Fringe. They're here in Austin. I'm in the Austin area. They're great. Yeah. But I was like, even there, I was like, there's an opportunity on brand that people aren't hitting. Like they're just not hitting, like being a brand, like a real brand that speaks for something, stands for something. And the ones that are charging a ton, which good for them. And so I was going to go in and I ran into the same thing. I was like, what are you guys? What is this? Like, so I'm pumped for you. All right. Right now, do you have any plans to have your own gym? Like in your, like, or are you kind of like, man, we serve these people. I don't really care about that as much. It's like,
yes, what are your thoughts around that? Long term, I had this vision a while back about creating a warehouse that people could walk into essentially as like a retail store. And then over to the side, you have a training studio with all the equipment, all of which we sell. It's like a turf run or something. And then offering nutrition and supplements. That way we would become a all-encompassing health, nutrition, and fitness location. So it's not just you walk in, buy equipment, go back to your house, and that's it. Yeah. You come here. Not only can you come here, you can get the equipment for your home. You can train here in person. You can get the nutrition and the advice from licensed nutritionists and trained personal trainers all in one spot. And I've seen one, I've seen the other. I've never seen the two of these combined. I think it would just be so neat. It would also help, obviously, with like overhead costs. So like if you've got a training studio over here that's making money, you can also pay the rent.
Yes.
But I think it would also help from hey, let's test this piece of equipment that we're making out with some of these clients and see if it lasts. Ashton. So that's the ideal.
I'm sold, man. I love it.
Yeah.
I'm jealous, man. I'm just like, this is okay. This is why. So part of the reason I started this podcast was like, again, just finding unique people. This isn't about, for me, we have nothing to sell. You've got stuff to sell. I hope people buy it, but that's not why we're having this conversation. I've never met anyone that sells used gym equipment ever. Every once in a while, I'll drive down 183 and I'll see like this small shop that's like used fitness equipment. But I'm like, I've never heard of them before. I don't know what that is. And part of me goes, I should stop by there sometime. But I never remember to go back by. But I always wonder, like, how do they operate? How do they work? How does all this happen? And so for you right now, you've got this grand vision, kind of like the thing. And I'm glad you shared some like the behind the scenes stories that are like, it's not like this sexy thing. Because one of the things I saw from you, I think it was more recent, was, hey, look, like we kind of got this new shipping thing. Can you share what that was? Because I was like, what happened?
It's an ongoing conversation. I'll be honest. So I'll just make an admission here on air. Up until recently, when I feel like I'm being taken advantage of, or when I feel like somebody's being incompetent, I'm very quick to jump down their throat, which honestly means I end up coming off like an a-hole. I was treating these guys very, very poorly. And so I needed to adjust how my behavior as an owner of a business, because I would treat my employee, like if you talk to the guys who are employed by me, I treat them well. I do not treat our service providers well. So I've had to completely readjust how I am coming across to guys that are trying to help us with like freight, transport, all of that stuff. And that's been I got called out yesterday by an organization that we work with, which I appreciated. And I had to make an apology. So up until this point, I've had some real big frustrations with freight, not only from a rate standpoint, but also getting overcharged and all of this stuff. And we were doing everything right from a calculation standpoint, but there's limitations in software. There's limitations in what these companies can do. There's limitations in the kind of customer service they can provide. And as a business owner, you got to be super patient. You've got to push, but like you've got to be patient with things just honestly not being there. We're on Shopify. The integration with being able to ship big stuff outside of UPS is so limited. It's so unbelievably limited. And the companies that are out there that would be able to provide some services for bigger stuff, a lot of them are trash. So that's the frustration I'm dealing with. Is you either go with mediocre, worse, like a completely horrible garbage company, or you go with somebody that's bigger, may not care as much about you, but they have really good rates, and try to like deal with some of the frustration of, corporate billing and that kind of thing, which is kind of what I'm going through right now. And by the way, I'm not posting some videos that I had queued up because honestly, I'm partially to blame for this, and like the way I'm treating their sales guy and all that stuff. So we're working through that. But yeah, like I had to shut things off because we were getting overbilled.
Oh my gosh.
And there's different ways to do this, and people will find this out about freight. Like if you don't ever deal directly with a freight partner. They will try to take advantage of you just across the board. Yeah, because they'll bill you on the back end for stuff that really they shouldn't bill you for.
And that's what you're touching on. Yeah.
Yeah. Excessive length fees, accessorial fees, which are like liftgate, residential delivery, limited access delivery, like all this weird terminology. And then they'll just bill you, and they'll just go down the road and find somebody else as a customer. With a broker, somebody who deals with a bunch of different carriers, they can be an advocate for you with all those carriers. That's who we deal with. And there's good brokers, there's bad brokers. But man, dude, it's been such a nightmare. Finding stuff where you can show a rate at checkout is way harder than you would imagine. Like, I don't know why.
I'm listening to you, you have a skill to learn. You're picking up information. You jumped into an industry during an upswing, but you're learning this stuff.
Yeah.
Wick. Are you aware of that?
I don't know. So I've gotten more confident in my skills and abilities as time have gone on, and I've been able to compare myself to like other people in this business. Starting out, I was not that confident about what I didn't even think I was good at sales.
Really?
No joke. Oh yeah. Yeah. I didn't think I was a salesman. I thought I was going to have to hire somebody. I didn't do sales for like a year and a half.
But you're convicted.
Yeah. Well, that's what I was told by a mentor of mine. It's not sales.
Yeah.
It's building a relationship, a long term. It's called business development. That's when the light bulb went off. And
Yep.
I was like, oh, well, if I can just build a relationship with somebody
Oh,
and as a result sell, like, hey, I can do that.
and you believe it, man. It's just a transfer of conviction, and you're convicted about this.
Yeah.
Like you believe in it, and you're seeing how bad the industry is. There's good parts too, but you're just like, dude, we can offer such better value, support. Like,
Well, it's like if that's the bar, we don't have very far to go.
yeah,
And if we
dude,
can exceed that even just a little bit, I mean, that's why all these companies work with us. To me, this is across the industry. If you can just be a little bit better than the average is
yes,
usually, at least in our business, is not very high. So if you can just be a little bit better than the average, and ideally, like with us, a lot better than the average, you'll get tons of business, tons and tons of business, even from other companies that are technically your competition. Like the companies we work with, like I said, they sell new equipment and so do we, but they're technically competition, but we have really good working relationships with them just because we do freaking good work. Like
yes.
that's what it's about. So yeah, no, you're right. You've had just being an owner as a whole, you've
Oh
got to
man.
be a master of a bunch of different skill. Or sorry, jack of all trades, master of none kind of thing.
Yeah.
Which I just freight. What's freight?
Yeah.
What's limited access? Like, how do you? What's marketing? What's
Yeah.
sales? Like, I
Yeah.
don't
Yeah.
what I have no I had no idea what I was doing. I just knew like we were selling stuff that people wanted. That's about it. I had to learn everything else.
Let me just say this real quick, because I deal with people that are like trying to scale through marketing and trying to do all this stuff. Your reels, I've never seen anyone else that does what you do with reels that get to me. Like I've
Oh
never
yeah,
seen it. And the
yeah.
fact that it got to me, like, and you've got the ones that are popping off for you right now are the ones where like someone's working out and you're commenting on their
Oh yeah.
workout. Like those are popping off. And that's like you can always do that like
Oh yeah.
forever.
Yep.
And but I think like based on where you're wanting to go, are you really like, are you on LinkedIn a lot? Is that like, because I would think with the corporate, that's
Right.
kind of like some relationship building there.
I'm trying to refine the image there. LinkedIn's a whole nother ball game. I've
It
never been
is.
successful on LinkedIn. I've been successful on every other platform except for LinkedIn. LinkedIn is very corporate, very honestly
Yes.
stick up your butt.
Yes.
And
It is.
yeah,
They
I've
like the
had
smell of their own farts. It's all
yeah.
just like, I'm awesome.
So the text posts do better than my videos, which I get.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to refine our approach and try to put a little bit of a different professional image on the company there, because that's what gets across. I'll post stuff about like hiring. I'll post stuff about the
Yeah.
industry,
Yeah.
and it's really just words. I don't have very many videos specifically for LinkedIn because
Honestly, LinkedIn is best for with DMs. So if
yeah,
there's someone you're trying to build a relationship corporate wise,
yeah,
there's a DM to be made of like, can we grab a coffee? Can we do
yeah.
whatever? And that's where I've seen it do the best. Is just on that side. Okay, we're about to wrap up. At Freedom Equipment 1 on Instagram, please follow. And is there how can people help you? Is there anything that you're like, man, if you know this, connect you with this kind of person,
Yeah.
or like what is your biggest maybe need or
Sure.
anything like that?
So if you want to see more of our content, just follow us at Freedom Fitness Equipment on
That's right.
every platform except for Instagram. On Instagram, like you just said, it's at Freedom Fitness Equipment 1,
Yep.
the number 1. If reach out to me via DM if you want to connect or talk about equipment. If you need help with something, I'm glad to assist related to gym or fitness. The biggest thing is if we operate a lot on referrals. So if you know of whether it's corporate clients or individual gyms or people just trying to get started, I love working with individual owner operators and people who are trying to get their get going in the industry. So if you're trying to build a training studio, I'd love to help you out. Whether you're a big corporate client that's looking
Yeah.
for like your next apartment complex, or whether you're like a training studio that's just starting out, just message us. Those are the types of folks that we try to help. And we're trying to like target going into 2024. We'll never forget and we'll never move away from all our home gym folks who are just building really good, really commercial,
Yeah.
honestly, home gyms. But as far as like things that would help me going into next year,
Yeah.
some of the bigger clients, we'd love to, if you know anybody, or if anybody listening who has referrals, we'd love to help
Is there a
out.
specific corporate that you know offhand that, like, man, if we could get introduced, because I know one or two people in North Carolina that can just start. Are there specific companies that you're like, anyone know anybody here or
Yeah,
there?
well, right here locally, I mean, there's companies like Lincoln Harris. Actually, just talk with some folks over at one of the hotels here.
Yeah,
Um, but those kinds of clients are really nice. Multifamily is a little bit hard to break into just because the success rate there is very low, and you might have ownership that has a different vision for their complex
yes,
than you would. But yeah, those kind of industries like hotel, apartment, even will pro big commercial franchise gyms have relationships directly with like Life
yeah,
Fitness and Matrix.
yeah,
Eh, but universities and high schools, especially, did a lot of work recently with schools that are on a budget.
mm,
We're built for those guys. Even PT clinics. So yeah, multifamily and hotels, clinics and high schools and folks on a budget. That's love those guys. I can't say specific businesses yet because going into 2024 we'll be targeting specific names, but and
yeah.
we're just starting to figure out who those guys are.
All right, Ashton, dude, what a great conversation, man. I feel like we really hit it off. I want to create a home gym and all that kind of stuff, not right now, but later. And I'm just thinking long term, man. I feel like we've hit it off. I'm thinking like, hey, man, what do you think about just being friends, man?
Yeah, man. They can know.